TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Settle. Hard days, no way with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop. Come on, baby, higher. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's that time of the week for the Midday Market Report with good friend and colleague, Mr. Sean Alvarez, as we'll be breaking down a couple races from Del Mar and Saratoga. So grab your racing forms, buckle up, and meet us at the paddock, as we're going to talk to Sean about the first couple weeks and the meets, where some jocks are standing, maybe some owners or let's just say trainers. Bob Baffert, if I'm correct, back in Kentucky. I mean, what's going on in this world? But first and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsor and partnerships, WagerWire. If you haven't downloaded the app, head on over to Google Play, download it. It's free. I promise myself, Travis, Zach, the rest of this team and community will take great care of you. As you've seen from the last 3 days, we've been live in Paris at the Olympics. We've been doing some shows with Travis, just absolutely amazing. Saw the torch today, saw some incredible, how should I word this politically correct? Just to be there. We were there Wednesday, and it was calm, cool, collected from the Rugby 7 to yesterday to today, and you could just feel the momentum and everything building up. So Travis, you're doing a hell of a job. Have some fun. Look forward to doing some cuts with you Saturday and potentially on Sunday. And of course, our other sponsorship and partnership with Viva Tequila Seltzer. And I saw it today, new flavor coming out, coconut. CT Bets, send them to Cape Cod. I can't wait. We can't wait. So good times from all above. So without further ado, the star of the show, Mr. Sean Alvarez himself.
Hey Jeff, I'm definitely jealous of your Olympic coverage. I may not be, an Olympic, fan as far as track and field and whatnot, but it's always so much fun to watch within the opening ceremony and just following, certain people that you think may have a good shot to cash a medal. And it's always a lot of fun. And, forget Cape Cod, CT, send them to Vegas. I know that you're going to be out here. So, it's a little prerequisite before a trip to Vegas. So send them out here. Jeff comes out here. We'll all just congregate around some Vivas.
Sounds like a plan. Maybe we can get Julian Edlow into the mix as well. He's a big Viva guy as well. So, busy times. I know we're here to break down a couple races, two big races, of course, at Saratoga, the Jim Dandy, and the Bing Crosby at Del Mar. But first, you had a big weekend last week, and I gotta, give a shout out to Matt Grissom. I don't seem to be getting these applications and these invites, whether it's to the Circa in Las Vegas or a weekend of golf and a weekend stay at Oaklawn. It wouldn't be fair without what happened last weekend, my brother.
Yeah, I definitely get a little leeway on the Circa invites, seeming as I live in Vegas and you live out in Connecticut, Cape Cod,
Massachusetts.
It's a long ways away. Let's just be real. It's a lot of time zones and a couple flights, but yeah, kind of similar to how we met. I met Matt on Twitter, or X, if you will. I'm old. I'm never going to get off of Twitter, or as far as calling it Twitter. And then met at Circa, but if I'm being honest, and I've told him this and his wife and you, Matt's literally one of the best guys you'll ever be lucky enough to meet. And like I told you backstage, if Matt ever wanted to run for mayor out in his city, he'd probably win in a landslide, because when you're out there, everybody wants to talk to Matt. Everybody wants a piece of his time. They all think the world of him, as you and I both do. So I couldn't feel more lucky and appreciative that Matt and his wife invited me out, because I had honestly the time of my life. I never thought I'd say that about Arkansas, but I'm already trying to go back if Matt will allow me.
Well, listen, Matt is a good friend and colleague. I haven't physically met him. We talk obviously throughout the week. He comes on every Friday, whether it's the NCAA Insiders for baseball. Him and Quentin Mills have a few weeks off. They'll be back early September to start talking some SEC football and the rest of the college football there. Switching to the tracks, what do we got now? 3 weeks into Saratoga, 2 weeks into Del Mar. What are you seeing from the back, outside looking in? Hot jocks, trainers, owners, what's going on at the tracks?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the great things, especially at Saratoga, is the tracks, for me, as far as what I think, the track's really playing fair. So, some horses that, want to go on and set the pace are not necessarily folding. And, the horses that are coming from the back are also making a good charge. So, to me, that's what really makes a fair track and a fair betting track. So first and foremost, I love the way that the superintendent and the grounds crew is working that Saratoga track with, as you've seen, at least a few days of rain. So hats off to them on how they're, managing that track and managing, the surfaces that these horses are riding on, but not necessarily a big push on trainers or owners. As far as Saratoga goes, you just don't want to leave Flavien Prat and Irad Ortiz off your ticket. Not only are trainers really eyeballing those guys as the best jockeys and getting on really good horses, but they just know what their horses, they know what to ask of their horses to put them in the best positions. And they've been doing it already, winning a lot of races, and just, like I said, putting their horses in a good position to win. That's really what you want when you're betting on a horse. If you've got $20 on the floor, you just want the best possible opportunities. Obviously, we want to win, but if the horse is a closer, you don't want to see him on the front end. If the horse is on the front end, you don't want to see him miss a break. And that's just what you're getting out of those two riders. So, definitely, it's not I'm not telling anything anybody doesn't know with the two best, probably the best jockeys in the country, but it's really showing that way in the first at least few weeks of the meet in Saratoga. As far as Del Mar goes, there's not really a lot to pull off of. I do really like Antonio Fresu as far as a jockey goes. But the only thing I'd really pull from that is the dirt track is playing obviously more towards speed and more towards the front end. But, that's what we talked about at least last week. And, I'm not saying anything that everybody doesn't already know. Everybody knows that Southern California tracks, especially on the dirt main track, plays a little bit towards the front end, and it's playing that way so far. So play a little bit towards the front end as far as Del Mar goes. Don't, especially when you're getting defensive on tickets, don't leave Irad or Flavien Prat off your ticket, especially if they're on a horse that you at least like a little, because these guys are winning at a high rate and are probably going to go 1-2, 2-1 when it comes to the end of the meet as far as wins goes.
And before we break down the first race here, which will be the Saratoga Grade 2, Race 10, Jim Dandy, and correct me if I'm wrong, I apologize, but breaking news earlier in the week where Churchill Downs and Bob Baffert, did they kiss and make up, or what's the story behind that?
If I'm being honest, with the trip and everything going on, I haven't really been paying attention. Also, anything Bob Baffert related with Kentucky or Churchill Downs doesn't really matter until May goes. He does ship, and he does ship to win. He rarely ships to Kentucky, and I imagine after all this that's going on, he's not looking at Kentucky Downs or Churchill Downs until the Derby goes. So we do have a little time to figure it out. I don't want to give you any false information with my vacation going on and work and getting Del Mar and Saratoga going on. I've had a few balls in the air, if you will.
Well, I'm going to leave the stage. I'm going to set you up here. Saratoga, race 10, grade 2, Jim Dandy. Give you breakdown your selections, and then, of course, we'll always ask for trifecta, exacta, whatever you have, okay?
Yeah, so we're going to go two turns on the main track. Saratoga did make a mile track out of the chute, if you will, that's kind of around that start finish line, but this will go 2 turns rather than that kind of weird 1 mile out of the chute kind of option. And for those that paid attention to the Kentucky Derby or even the Belmont or tuned into the show, if you will, during those Triple Crown races, a few of these horses are going to ring a bell, if you will. And the first one is at even money, the number 1 Sierra Leone. We talked about this horse going into or leaving the Kentucky Derby. He tends to kind of lug in and drift in towards that rail. And what Chad Brown did was change the bit, and the bit is what is in the horse's mouth that gives the jockey a little bit more power steering, if you will, a little bit more direction to the horse. And not only did they change the bit, but they also took Tyler Gaffalione off the horse, went to my favorite jockey in Flavian Pratt. It was a jockey's race in the Belmont Stakes, a short field. Flavian was way too far back, and Dornock and Mindframe kind of just ran on with it. And Sierra Leone ran a good race, didn't lug in, so that was a good plus. And now he's going to get a lot of speed to run into in this race. Yes, it's a 6-horse race, so it should be more of a jockey's race. Again, I love Flavian Pratt. I think he's the best jockey in the country. So the fact that it's going to be a jockey's race, the fact that he's going to have to put Sierra Leone into a position that puts him in the best position to win, I think you have the best jockey, and I think you're going to have a lot of speed to run into. And one of those speed horses that I'm referring to is the 6 Fierceness at 9-5 that we did see run in the Kentucky Derby. This was the odds-on favorite in that race, and just really didn't really have much going on in that race. We talked about the fact that this horse has never sat off the pace to win the race. He did in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, but it was against Muth that everybody was kind of leaving on their own. It wasn't necessarily that he was chasing a pace. He knew John Velasquez knew that he was going to go by Muth in that race. So I don't consider that sitting off the pace and pouncing. I think that was more just running his own race. So again, like I talked about, I think that we're going to get a lot of speed in this race, or at least horses that are eyeballing each other up front. And horses are pack animals. They understand that they either want their head in front, they want to eyeball horses. I don't think Fierceness being eyeballed is what he wants. So for me, it's kind of a 2A type of horse that I like. I really like Sierra Leone against the 6 Fierceness, and kind of my 2A horse that, if you will, is the 2 Seize the Gray at 6-1. We saw this horse run a huge race in the Pat Day Mile, which was the undercard in the Kentucky Derby race, kind of sat off the pace of a very quick race. We knew that you had to be on the lead or near the lead that day on the Churchill Downs main track based on the rain and the sealed track that they had going into that day. And I thought he ran a huge race that day. And then he backed it up by just walking the dog in the Preakness, which kind of drove me insane. That's been 2 Preaknesses in a row that we've been walk the dog up front, that we didn't want that horse to do it, but ran a good race. And I wouldn't say spit the bit, but running the Kentucky Derby undercard, running the Preakness, and then running the Belmont, this horse basically ran the Triple Crown. That's a big excuse that he had in the Saratoga and the Belmont. I thought Mindframe, Dornock, and Sierra Leone ran huge races. This horse kind of had an excuse to go backwards, if you will. But what we saw that he did in the Preakness, what we saw that he did in the Pat Day Mile, when this horse is up front. He does not like other horses to head him or try to go past him. I think we're going to see a better horse than we saw that ran in the Belmont Stakes. And like I said, there is speed up front. I don't necessarily know that Fierceness is going to want to go. Seize the Gray may be the horse that sets the pace. And if he digs in like he did in that undercard of the Kentucky Derby, in the Preakness Stakes, this may be a tough horse at 6-1 that Flavian Pratt has to try and run down at even money. And I'm going to kind of lean on my third choice being the next to longest shot in the field. The 5 Gold's Gold at 15-1. This has everything to do with the pace of the race. The 2 is going to go, the 4 is going to go, the 3 is going to go, the 6 is going to go. That's going to lead towards horses sitting off the pace that don't need that type of trip. And that type of trip is going to be the 5 Gold's Gold at 15-1. I'm not necessarily thinking this horse has a legitimate shot to win. I don't necessarily think this horse has a shot for second place, but I think he's going to clunk up for, a third place that we may need to kind of spice up these exotic wagers. It's really just a pace of the race type of thing. I think he's going to clunk up for hopefully third, which leads me to my trifecta, if you will. I'm not sure if you just want me to jump into this, Jeff. I'm guessing yes.
You can, sure.
So, like I said, my top pick is even money. My second choice is 9-5. My third choice is 6-1, which is the third choice. So Exacta's not really going to pay very much. I'm going to lean on these two top horses, the 1 Sierra Leone, the 6 Fierceness, for a trifecta. So for 50 cents, I'm going to go with the 1, the 6 on top. Like I said, I like the 2 to dig in a little bit. So it's going to be 1-6 on top, 1-2-6 in second, and I like the 15-1 to clunk up for third. So 1-6 on top, 1-2-6 in second, 1-2-5-6 in third. For 50 cents, it only costs $4 to punch. So, like I said, if we can get Seize the Gray maybe to clunk up for second, if we can get the 5 Gold's Gold to clunk up for third, this definitely could pay 20, 30, 40 bucks. For $4, I think it's worth the punch. I just don't see how we're going to make it any kind of money on a win bet or an exacta. So I lean towards the trifecta. Again, it's 1-6 over 1-2-6 over 1-2-5-6. And that costs $4 for the 50 cent wager.
All right, give me a second here, see if I can clear this up a little here. Multitasking. Here we go. So flashbacks here, going back to the winter, the start of the year, and leading up to the Kentucky Derby. Wasn't Fierceness one of the chosen ones to be the horse?
Oh, yeah. Fierceness was in all the Kentucky Derby future polls was the favorite, and then went off as the favorite on the Kentucky Derby. So not only was he the horse to beat on Kentucky Derby Day, but like you said, leading up to the first Saturday in May, he was what everybody was betting on. So, yes.
Can you give me an update before we head on over to the Bing Crosby at the Del Mar? And I know you were on vacation. I haven't heard or read anything. What's going on with the Japan horse?
Oh, with all the travel that he did, remember he raced in Dubai, Saudi, then they shipped to Kentucky for the Kentucky Derby. That's usually one of my biggest plays against is anybody that ships from Saudi or Dubai. They just don't ship very well. It's very similar to you and I going to, France or, Australia for, a trip. We're going to get jet lag. And the horses face the same kind of things. Not really very much of an update to give. He's just on rest, if you will. He's probably going to get one prep race in Japan, and then they'll ship him back to, is it Del Mar for the Breeders' Cup again this year? So back to the United States for that race. They most likely will get at least one prep race, if you will, before the Breeders' Cup. They won't just ship him over there, but he's definitely going to be on a little bit of a rest right now.
And so obviously geared to, I would assume, the Classic for the Breeders' Cup?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to be up to the trainer's opinion based on how he's going, but I would say he's going to absolutely be pointed to the Classic. If anything, maybe he runs in the dirt mile if they want to cut him back a little bit.
All right, and my last question to you before we jump on over. Again, I watched on Saturday, and as my dog is going crazy here, I apologize. Torpedo Ann, the female. I know that there was talks going to run against the boys. Thoughts on Torpedo Ann, and do you think it can run against the boys?
Yeah, just a side, friendly correct you. It's Torpedo Anna.
Torpedo, yes. Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, they can definitely run against the boys. I think she is good enough, especially against this field. There's no world beaters in the colt ranks, if you will. The next race that they probably would pinpoint would be the Travers. She ran a huge race on the Saratoga dirt track, so she's definitely proven that she can run a big race. I think that would be, if we're going to see her run against the boys, it's probably going to be at the end of this Saratoga meet in the Grade 1 Travers, which is their Kentucky Derby, if you will. I think it's possible, but again, it's really up to those owners and trainers. Other fillies or mares that have ran against the boys haven't gone that well. I think the best one that has ran against the boys would be Rachel Alexandra, that ran in the Woodward, I believe, not the Travers, that won. So the ground is laid out in front of her if she wants to do it. But I think we're going to see how she's training, how she's eating, leading up to that race. Basically, letting Torpedo Anna tell the trainer what she wants to do. I think it's definitely up in the air. But again, I just bet on the horses. I don't train them or understand, what's going on in the back end. I not only handicap the horses, but I handicap the trainers as well as far as their intentions. So let's see what their intentions are, and let's handicap them appropriately.
Now, isn't there a path, though, she can stay racing with the ladies, one more race and then go to the Breeders' Cup as well? I mean, isn't that a way?
So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a way that she would go to the Breeders' Cup, but my guess is they would point towards the Travers to lead up to the Breeders' Cup rather than one more Phillies race and then the Breeders' Cup Classic. Okay. Because at least at Saratoga, you're going to get mostly the East Coast horses. You're not going to get, a Baffert shipper or, somebody, that's training or running well, whether it be, Doug O'Neill or another prominent Southern California trainer. At least you're going to get, if you will, a little bit of a softer field in the Travers than you hypothetically could get in the Breeders' Cup. So, like I said, she just blew the doors off at Saratoga last weekend. So, she's proven she can run over that track. I think that they would more lean towards pointing her towards the Travers than not only shipping her, but then running her over a different track that she's never run over. So I would guess that they're going to point towards the Travers. But again, I'm not getting paid millions of dollars to train these horses. So, I'm not knocking any decision they make.
Well, I was thoroughly impressed. That's why it popped in my head. It's like, let me ask Sean about her. And again, apologies to all the true horse guys out there with my mispronunciation of Torpedo.
How about apologies for asking all these questions that you didn't prep me on?
well, Sean, here's the funny. Here is the funny. 1,900 plus shows on our YouTube channel. Not one has ever been scripted. Not one ever will be. And that's all the confidence that I have in you with your plethora of knowledge that I knew you'd have the answers. If not, you'd say, hey, great question, Jeff. I'll get that answer for you next week. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, there you go. I was going to say, I missed this in the notes.
Exactly. So hats off and applaud. Thank you. We're going to head on over to Del Mar. Race number 10, Grade 1, Bing Crosby. Let me get off the stage here, set you up here, and I'll get you all set up. So take it away, sir.
Yeah, so I'm going to do this a little bit differently. Let's start with the favorite, the 8, the Chosen Brawn at 6-5. What has this horse done recently? He's rattled off 5 races in a row as far as wins go. His last loss was in the Breeders' Cup Grade 1 Sprint. Didn't necessarily run very well, kind of got a bad trip. And what did he do before that? He rattled off 6 wins before that. So he's 11. He's won 11 races of his last 12 starts. So not necessarily a lot to necessarily knock as far as this horse goes. But if you look at his speed figures, he hasn't necessarily done it in blowing away fashion. His last race was in May, on May 25th. He's going to have a little bit of a layoff going into this. Yes, the jockey and the trainer know that this horse can run at Del Mar. He's basically run his entire life at Del Mar and Saratoga. Like I said, he won this last race, the last running of this race. He won by a head, but it wasn't, again, a really kind of blow the doors off. He got a 96 buyer speed figure, not necessarily on par for winning a grade 1 race like this. So for me, I jumped to my top pick, the 7 Happy Jack at 3-1. What I really like about this horse is again, you're going to hear me talk about this in any show that I do with Jeff or any other show, what have you, is I really like jockeys and their intention. This is a 7 furlong race. It's kind of splitting you in the eyes of a sprint race between a route race, if you will. And you're getting a jockey in Edwin Maldonado who I always make the joke, he's like 6'7". He's one of the tallest jockeys that there is out there. Obviously still makes weight. He's like a quarter horse jockey. He gets his horses out of the gate. He's not going to shove from the gate, but he gets them out of the gate and on top. That's what this horse wants to do. And if you look at some of what this horse has done running style in the last few races is he's been able to sit off the pace, and he's sitting off of a blue speed figure, if you will. If you look at past performances, what I really like about DRF past performances is they'll color code their speed figures. And what a blue speed figure is they think it's too slow for that distance. So he's following slow fractions at sprint races, and he's able to gobble up those leaders. So he doesn't need a big speed pace to run into. He can set the pace, if you will. And his last speed figure around a 105, a 101 before that. And like I said, the last running of this race, the winner got a 96. So he can set the pace. He's got a quarter horse type jockey that can shove from the gate, and he can sit off of a slow pace. So he's a very versatile type of horse. He's a 3-1 second type of choice with that 6-5 favorite. So my top pick is going to be the 7 Happy Jack. And then a horse I really like is the 3 Straight No Chaser at 6-1. I really like Dan Blacker as a trainer. He lets the horse tell him when he wants to run, how he wants to run. Basically, he doesn't do, obviously he does everything as far as training goes, but he listens to the horse. He's not making plans without the horse telling him that he's okay to run, and he's knocking down the barn doors, if you will. And if you look at what this horse has done training-wise, he's got 3 bullet workouts going to 47 flat, 59-1, 59 flat. This horse is ready to run, and he wants to sprint from the gate. So, like I said, as far as any jockey that I like at Del Mar, there's nobody I like more than Antonio Fresu. You're getting Antonio Fresu first time on. Dan Blacker, like I said, he's just letting this horse tell him that he wants to run. He's just Antonio Fresu should shove from the gate and say, catch me if you can. So I really like this horse at 6-1. And then my third choice, I've already talked about him, the 8, the Chosen Prawn. He's your morning line favorite at 6-5. I won't dive too far into him. He is the horse to beat. He hasn't really done anything wrong outside of a bad trip in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. But do we really want to swallow 6-5 when we can punch holes, right? We're not necessarily sitting here trying to, swallow chalk any chance we can get. I just gave you 2 horses that I like at better prices. And then if you really dig further down into it, first off, it's not necessarily the other Baffert that we'll talk about. We've talked about before. It's usually the higher price Baffert. There's not another Baffert in this race, but now you're getting Bob Baffert at 15-1 at Del Mar in a grade stakes race. I don't see how you can not include this horse. He ran a 95 Beyer speed figure last time out. I don't mean to harp on the same thing that I just talked about, but the last running of this race, the winner got a 96. Jackstown, the number 9, the Bob Baffert trained horse, has only run 2 races in his lifetime. An 84 won by a length and a quarter, a 94 won by 3 lengths and a half. So now he's running his 3rd race. We've talked about it before. Horses have every right to improve on their 2nd, their 3rd, even their 4th start. Now we're getting a lightly trained horse at 15-1 who was only 1 Beyer speed figure off of the Beyer speed that won this rendition of the race last time out. So how can you not include a Baffert trained horse getting his top barn jockey at 15-1 on the outside post? It's only a 1-turn race. He has all the time in the world before the first turn to kind of set his position, if you will. I think the number 9 Jackstown cannot be dismissed at 15-1. I think that's definitely a spicy horse to either win the race at a big price or spice up an exacta, if you will, that I'll get into once you give me back the floor.
I love the breakdown. I love everything about it, and you know, you're talking my language here when it comes to the novice, the person just joining us for the first time, someone that's heading to the track that doesn't understand. It's easy to run to the window and just listen to everyone calling out the same combinations. It's almost like you're at a Chinese food restaurant and they're just calling out the numbers and it's all the same thing. Everyone's getting the rice with the chicken wings and the spare ribs. You get to a window at a racetrack and everyone's calling out the same horses. It's the same thing at the sports book, Sean, when everyone's got, the Chiefs with the Steelers and the Cowboys money line. One of those are going to fall. When you get to the window to bet an exacta, win place, trifectas, and they're all calling out the same numbers, well, there's the lines to place the bet. Watch the length of them. And at the end of the race, watch the length of the lines of those people cashing the tickets.
Yeah. It was like when Rich Strike won the Kentucky Derby. I was at South Point in the ballroom with Marco, our good friend Marco D'Angelo from WagerTalk. And after the race, like he said, there's just line after line after line, people trying to bet the Kentucky Derby. I think there was like 2 people cashing tickets after Rich Strike won. And, even to harp on the same thing, our good friend Kelly in Vegas, I think basically everybody watching the show knows who Kelly in Vegas is. But, like she says, when she's handicapping football during the year, all of a sudden she likes the Vikings and then everybody on Twitter likes the Vikings. You just somehow know that ticket is going to lose. Everybody can't win. The lights are on in Vegas for a reason. And so you love this ticket. You know that you hate the Washington football team, if you will. I won't even say the other one. I don't want to get your YouTube show canceled. You hate the Washington football team, but somehow you know that ticket's going to win because everybody's on the Vikings, if you will.
Yeah, and lastly, before we get into the exacta, it's like if you're playing the Circa Survivor, and of course that's a marathon in itself, not just 17 weeks, 18 weeks. The Thanksgiving game, the Christmas game. There's so many things that you got to looking ahead. And of course, it's survive in advance. You got to win. You can't tie. You got to win to get to the next week. So I'm thinking in the back of my mind, if I play this year, I'm 45 minutes from Gillette Stadium and the Patriots, right? So how is Jacoby Brissett and the Patriots, who are 8.5-point underdogs, going to go into Cincinnati and beat Cool Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and the rest of their team? And I'm thinking, when you do those contests, there's always a train wreck, and you don't want to be on that one team. So it's the same thought process, Sean.
Yeah, the only way you're going to win Circa Survivor is that there are multiple train wrecks, and you can dodge every single one of them. Because that's how you're going to get 5,000 people out. and just fingers crossed and hope and pray that you're not part of it.
Exactly. So give them the exactor and your thoughts moving forward.
Yeah, so you kind of lean on what I really like, and what I really like is the 3-7-8 on top. That's the 7, my top choice, Happy Jack at 3-1, the 3 straight no chaser at 6-1, and then the 8, the Chosen Brawn, the favorite at 6-5. That's what I like on top, and then you add the 9, Jackstown at 15-1 underneath. But kind of the more that I'm talking about it, that ticket only costs $9. That ticket is what I emailed you. It's 3-7-8 on top, over 3-7-8-9 on bottom. But the more I'm talking about it, and the more I'm making a case for the 9 at 15-1 compared to an 8, the 8 at 6-5, the 7 at 3-1, the 3 at 6-1. It only costs $3 more just to box the entire thing. So let's do that. It's 3-7-8-9 boxed exacta. It only costs $12. If the 9's going to be nowhere near 15-1. If the 9 can win at 10-1, that's not one that I want to save $3 on, if you will. So we're going to do 3-7-8-9, 3-7-8-9 exacta box. For $1, it costs $12. If the 9 Jackstown, yes, it's my fourth shot, but I just basically made all the case in the world that this horse can not only clunk up for second, but I think this horse has a chance to win. So why are we going to get cute? I don't want to get on the show next Friday with you and say, God, I wish I would have just spent $3 more in this Baffert. The other Baffert, if you will, wins at 10-1. So like I said, 3-7-8-9 exacta box costs $12 for $1.
I thought you were just going to say you might as well just flip-flop them and play it back for another $9. So it is 3-7-8-9 box right there, $12, guys. Get involved there. As we always close out the show, had you working overtime, it was those extra questions that you get an A+ and an apple for the day from the host here. We can't thank you enough there. But they know where to follow you. At Smooth Turn 2, of course, on Twitter, as I call it as well. And, of course, all your work on WagerTalk. And as we close up this show for this week, tell them what you have to offer at WagerTalk, my friend.
Yeah, so I've got my daily cards, whether it be Saratoga or Del Mar, up, like I said, daily. Usually try to post them between 2 to 3 hours before first post. But like we talked about last week, if you go to wt.buzz/SA, that's where you can get my daily cards. But also I've got a 30-day package up for $99 to get all of my horse racing cards. And I did very quick math before the show. Even if you're just a Saturday and Sunday better, whether it be Saratoga and Del Mar, even if you just do Saturday, I keep wanting to say Saratoga, even if you just do Saturday and Sunday at Saratoga and Del Mar, it basically comes out to about $4.50 per card, which is a third of what you are going to pay. So if you're into Saratoga, if you're into Del Mar, go ahead and go grab my monthly package. You're going to save a lot more money, and let's cash a lot of tickets. There's still a lot of good racing cards at both Saratoga and Del Mar. So let's cash some tickets. Let's cash some winners, and pay for the card itself. So don't get the daily package. You can if you will, but you're going to save a lot more money if you get the 30-day package.
Guys, everyone here that follows ECSI, we talk long-term. And again, it makes no sense to go, I'm just going to get one day Saturday. Oh, it's a great Saturday. Let me get Sunday. Next thing you know, next week you're doing the same thing. Guys, open up the wallet. I know the Abe Lincoln has sunglasses on it. Don't be afraid, okay? Dive in. Let's get 30 days here. I guarantee you Sean will take good care of you. As well there.
And not only that, it's, you don't have to be a pick 5 player. You don't have to be a pick 3 player. You can be a win bet guy. You're going to get my full card selections. I give you my top 4 for each race. I also give you what I think is a suggested wager that, could get paid. I'm not going to sit there in a 4-horse race and tell you to play a a chalk over the second choice exacta. I'm trying to make a little bit of money, for a minimal investment. So you don't need to be a huge bettor. Like I said, you could be a win play show. You could be exactas, pick threes. Let's take my opinion, your opinion, mesh them together and make a little bit of money.
You can't even get the racing form for $4.50 anymore, right?
Gosh, don't even get me started with that, Jeff.
I want to thank everyone that has been here today. It's an awesome show as always. I love our Fridays with Sean. We can't thank him enough. Early morning this morning, live from Paris. In about 1 hour, I will be a guest with Andrew McGinnis on WagerTalk. Join us over there. And around 4:30ish, myself and Riley will end the day with the closing bell. And then if you stay tuned at 6:15, Scotty Webb in the batter's box will talk about the MLB card as well. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one and only Mr. Sean Alvarez at Smooth Turn 2, and of course at WagerTalk. Gonna get on over there, get the 30-day package, and thank us later. We promise you. So from ourselves, have a great day, and we will see you soon.